점수 잡는 hackers.
Let's move on to question number 3. It does seem quite long, but the overall principle or the mathematical equation involved is a simple systems of linear equation, right? So they're telling us that when we're printing S small brochures at a cost of 0.5 or 50 cents per brochure and L large ones at a cost or it's a little bit more expensive. Which of the following represents the total cost of printing small and large? So if they're involving a term of and, we should add the two terms, right? So all you have to do is incorporate the cost per item and you multiply it by the number of items to get the total cost. So I don't think we need to actually write an equation down. You just combine the terms S with 0.5 and the variable of L with 1.25, and I think we have our match. You circle B, and that's about it, okay? So let's move on to number 4 here. It was very similar to number 3, right? They said a real estate developer is constructing a certain number of houses on a plot of land, and the number of houses H remaining to be constructed M months after the construction is estimated by the equation. So you can see that the number of houses remaining that we need to construct is 54. That's the target goal. And we're constructing about 1.8 houses per month. That's how you analyze the system or the linear equation. So what are they asking for? Best describes the meaning of value of 54, the constant here. Well, if you were to graph this in a coordinate system, your y-intercept would have a positive value of 54, and your monthly construction would be graphed along this axis. So what does it represent? We need to have, that's the target, 54 houses in the final end. Okay? Very good. So what happens if they tweak the question a little bit and they were asking for instance, the meaning of 1.8? It'd be the slope value. So this would refer to number of houses they build every month. All right? So let's move on to number 5. What value of x satisfies the equation? So what do you have to do? Simplify this in exponent form and solve for your variable x. So let's begin. I think we should match our base here. What number pops up? I think we should use a value of 2. So 16 is 2 raised to the what power? Can you guys tell me? 4th power, right? 2 to the 4th power is 16. And let's just leave the denominator as it is because it already is expressed as the base of 2. And on the right-hand side, it becomes 2 raised to the power of, 2. And what happens when you have a division form here? What do you do with the exponent forms? I think you should subtract them, right? Okay. So let's just write it out. So the overall power becomes 4x negative x negative 4. Does that make sense? Because we're subtracting 4x minus the entire expression. And on the right-hand side, you just leave it as it is. So all you have to do is equate the two forms and solve for your variable. So it becomes 3x is equal to 6. Therefore, x has a value of positive 2. And you circle C. Okay? Very good. Let's move on to the next question of number 6. So they're providing a function, f of x is equal to some fraction form. And notice how they do involve a variable in the denominator here, right? And what are they asking for? What values of x is the function f undefined? What pops up in your mind here? For a function to be undefined, the denominator has to equal to 0, correct? Because when you have this form, it's undefined. You can't have a portion out of nothing. It just doesn't make sense. Correct? Okay, so let's solve this equation. So what should we write down? All you have to do is write overall, the denominator equals to 0. You need to find the value of x that suffices this expression. So how do you simplify this? Can I just do this here? Yeah, it means moving the constant to the right-hand side. And you just need to solve for a variable x. So how do you get rid of the power of 2? Why don't we just square root both sides? So on the left-hand side, you're left with x minus 3. And on the right-hand side, it becomes 2. But notice how when you're square rooting a specific expression, we have to consider both the plus and minus forms. And when you're square rooting a constant value, it produces the positive version only. So at the end, we're going to come up with 2 expressions. First one, when you're considering the positive value. And the second one, when you're considering the negative expression. So what's the conclusion for the first one? X has a positive value of 5. And what about the second expression? Negative x plus 3 is equal to 2, right? So at the end, what's the conclusion for x? You have a value of positive 1, and we have our match. So you circle B, and that's it. Okay? So moving on to number 7, let's begin. They do provide an equation, and they're calculating the monthly payment on loan with a present value V and interest rate R if the loan will be paid back over total n months. So they're defining the variables here. Which of the following equation expresses P or a V in terms of all the other ones? So right off the bat, the SAT does involve questions very similar to number 7. They provide this very complicated form involving either finance or especially physics, right? You just have to rearrange the terms. And if you look through the answer choices, they're defining everything with respect to the variable of V. So you go back, you look at your equation. So how would you simplify with respect to V? You should move everything to the left-hand side. So you're going to be left with P multiplied by the entire expression. And that's equivalent to RV. And what do? You just divide everything by the variable of R, and you're looking for your match. And I think we do have one. Which one did you guys choose? Yeah, B, and that's it. Okay.